Liurnia. And you notice here the very peculiar characters here. And no, this is not Irina. This is most likely Hayeta. If I remember, I think I still have some grapes. But I know you're probably wondering, why the hell am I here after I already set the tree on fire, I already destroyed Malekith, Hulk Hogan, and the Elder Beast, and all that, yada, yada, yada. Well, it just so happens I got stuff. I still have some things I kind of want to get over with before we go to New Game Plus One in preparation for Shadow of the Earth Tree. But never mind that right now. Let's have the conversation about Akira Toriyama. So, my sister texted me one morning, this morning actually, while I was at work, and she told me Akira Toriyama died. And for me, I was in disbelief. I was like, "What? You like, in serio? Like for real? Like, because like we lost Kentaro Miura a few years back. The creator of Berserk, and we all know how the Soulsborne, the whole Souls community felt. Even Final Fantasy XIV did a tribute for him. And now the granddaddy of Elden Ring. I mean, the granddaddy. see, this is how messed up I am right now. The granddaddy of Dragon Ball, Chrono Trigger, Sandman. No, Sandland. Let me correct myself. The Dr. Slump, all of that. Akira Toriyama's dead. And at first I couldn't believe it, didn't want to believe it. But then I looked it up. All it takes is a Google search, folks. And even Wikipedia. And I was like, oh my God, he's dead. But the thing that caught my attention was he's been dead since the first of the month. Since rent was due. So think about that. We had no idea he was already gone. He already, almost a whole ass week, long since departed from us. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been crying all day. Not minute after minute, second after second, but I've had my little spats of where I just found myself crying because it's like I felt like a family member was taken from us. Because if we run it back. I was 12 or 13 when I first woke up on a Sunday morning at 6:30 Eastern Time in the wonderful world of Brooklyn, New York. Turned on WB11, or what it used to be WPIX11, or Pix11. If you're a millennial from Brooklyn, New York, or from New York City in general, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Dragon Ball Z was on. I remember the old American version of the intro back in the day. This is before the Toonami boom, and this was the Ocean dub, no less. So voice actors were very different. We didn't have Christopher Sabat as Vegeta. We had Brian Drummond, who's also the voice of Dr. Eggman in Sonic Prime. I almost want to believe that at some point, Christopher Sabat's not going to be able to do Piccolo and Vegeta interchangeably and not have them sound like each other. And at some point, they're going to need Brian Drummond to come back as Vegeta. I don't like saying that, but they have to. But anyway, watching the show, I was, remember, I'm 12, 13 years old at the time. I'm going to be 39 in 2 weeks, as of Friday, in 2 weeks. And I'm like, what is this? All this martial arts stuff. And again, I was not exposed to any real, anime culture at the time. And I remember seeing, when Goku had to fight Raditz, and he had Piccolo's help. And at that time, there was no dying or going to hell. There was going into being sent to the next dimension. And then instead of hell, you had Home for Infinite Losers. And if you ask me, it's one of the few things that's not manga accurate, that's only Ocean dub accurate, if you really want to be honest, that I didn't mind because it was hilarious. Like the Home for Infinite Losers, when you go to hell, you're an infinite loser, and this is your home. It made sense. I mean, it was a good way of keeping it kid friendly, but I thought it was hilarious. And of course, the censorship, no actual blood, so everything looked kind of just choppy, choppy. Seeing the first, you know, key blast battle of Goku and Vegeta, you know, the Galick Gun and the Kamehameha. And of course, you know, until all of us actually watched Dragon Ball Z Kai, we would find out that no, Goku wasn't doing Kaioken times 10. That was an ocean dub thing there. And even Toonami didn't really rectify it. We didn't see that rectified until Dragon Ball Z Kai, where all dialogue was completely reworked and done accurate to what was said in the manga, which I thought was really cool, and I appreciate it, and it's awesome. But yeah, just got curious, and then there used to be this video store called JCIA. It was on the corner of Metropolitan Avenue. Yeah, Metropolitan Avenue and Union Avenue in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg. Like literally, like right across from the Kellogg's Diner in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, because that's where I'm from. I went there one day because, you know, usually I rent movies, I rent video games there. So I was like, you know what? Just rent a new game out. Let's see what happens. And I ran into Dragon Ball GT Final Boss. There was something about the art that just stood out to me. I was like, this character's shiny. He has a pointy nose, spiky hair, so different. And I'm like, I want to try this out. Next thing you know, I'm like, all these characters. And yeah, there was like 2 or 3 variations of Goku. There was like 2 variations of Vegeta, 2 Gohans or whatever. But the thing was, it was just like, granted, gameplay-wise and texture-wise, oh, it has aged horrendously. Horrendously. Even Budokai 1 has aged far better than this. But it's what exposed me to the whole world of Dragon Ball. Next thing you know, I remember ringing up my uncle, and next thing you know, we one day go to like Hoyt Schemahorn or J Street Borough Hall, around that area. They had like a little Chinatown spot over there in Brooklyn. Fan sub videos in VHS of Dragon Ball Z everywhere. And the funny thing was, he didn't have me watch the entirety of Dragon Ball Z in a VHS tape, or multiple VHS tapes. We kind of skipped around. So like, while here in the U.S., we were still stuck from like the beginning of Z all the way up to when Goku just arrived on Namek. He had me watch 10 Billion Power Warriors, also known as Return of Cooler. And I was just breathtaken by the animation quality, number one. Number two, the character design. And, you know, never mind the fact that Goku and Vegeta, they went from, you know, like trying to destroy each other and send each other to the next dimension to working together to save New Namek. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. Oh, thank you so much, Lapel78. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I know this isn't one of those active streams where I'm like playing and wrecking shit, but we're just here shooting the breeze because, again, I'm just reminiscing on Dragon Ball Z. And, you know, because, you know, today Akira Toriyama passed away, and that really rocked my world. Like, think about it. I was working today, late night, because I work overnights, and I was like, shit, Toriyama's gone. We just lost Kentaro Miura, whose work in Berserk basically inspired all things Dark Souls, and even Bloodborne, and especially Elden Ring. You play this game long enough, this game I'm on, you play it long enough, you start seeing a whole lot of Berserk going on. From the start to finish. Like, I'm not saying it's a one-to-one, not even. But the inspiration of Berserk resonates in this game. There's no denying it. But yeah, watching 10 Billion Power Warriors, also known as Return of Cooler. My Discord is, I believe it's Ron322. You can actually find me on there. I don't really hop on Discord that often, only because I rarely am on there. But whenever I'm live streaming, I'm always here on Twitch. And sometimes, on special occasions, I'll be on YouTube as well. So, anyway, moving on with the story. So from that to then when he, like, think about it. We went from Return of Cooler, you know, seeing the big Getty Star, the fight of Goku and Vegeta against Cooler and all his Metal Cooler clones and shit, to the Cell games, right? When we first see Gohan go Super Saiyan 2, like, my uncle didn't even take me to, like, the hyperbolic time chamber, the training they did, where we had, you know, the original Cell to Imperfect Cell to when Imperfect Cell was fighting Vegeta and Trunks. None of that. We just we went straight to the VHS tape of, you know, when Goku, Gohan, Trunks, and everyone was fighting all the Cell Juniors, and then when Android 16 gets offed, and, well, that's what triggers Gohan into going Super Saiyan 2. But then the weird part was he never had the tape of when we actually watched Gohan, like, destroy every Cell Junior and even pound the crap out of Cell either. Or the things that happened afterwards. Yeah, I didn't even get to see the Father-Son Kamehameha until, like, Toonami. And then skip straight to, what was it? Yeah, Fusion Reborn. Fusion Reborn, which was movie 12, Rebirth of Fusion, which is when we first, you know, see Gogeta and Janemba. And then we skipped around some more, and then we ended up seeing the Android 13 movie, which I thought was really, really cool, where you got to see Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks as a triple tag team take on Androids 11, 12, and 13. I thought it was really, really damn cool. And then seeing the VHS tape of when Fat Boo ate Dabura. At this point, Vegeta's not even, like, Vegeta's gone. Gohan, we don't know what the heck happened. But then and then he had another tape where that's when we got to see what's his face, Vegito. So at that point, it's like we were watching these tapes, not even knowing what the heck happened in between. Neither of us had manga. Like, my uncle would just grab, like, the VH tapes that had the coolest covers, basically. And if it didn't have a Super Saiyan on the cover, it was a deal breaker. It was a non-starter. That's just crazy. And then the crazy part was that when America finally got the whole crossover and got the Toonami explosion, we finally got the Frieza saga, we finally got the Cell and the Blue saga and stuff. The coolest thing was over in Graham Avenue, near where I lived in Brooklyn. There used to be this shop, right? And the shop was, you know, it was owned by this Brazilian dude, and honestly, it had very cheap clothes and stuff. And some of the off-brands were freaking hilarious. But the one thing that was really awesome were all the Dragon Ball Z shirts they had. Like, they didn't have another Goku with the King Kai logo in the back, or Goku with the Kaioken, or Vegeta with his Saiyan armor, or Frieza in his first form. No. You had whole shirts with Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan Gohan, Super Saiyan Vegeta, Super Saiyan Future Trunks, like, all ganged up together. And then, for no explanation whatsoever, have Piccolo on the side. And then other shirts where you had, you know, Goku, Gohan, and Goten do the Kamehameha together. Then there was the one that had Ultimate Gohan with Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks doing a blast together. Like, they had shirts like that with various color variations, and it was just so cool. And then next, you know, it was all about the fight. And then the real cool thing was the fact that it was always a tradition. Christmas time was always a time for Dragon Ball Z fighting games at home. On PlayStation 2 especially, like, think about it, like, every Christmas, we knew we were getting a new Dragon Ball game. So, Budokai 1, Budokai 2, Budokai 3, Tenkaichi 1, Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, which is the GOAT up to this point until Sparking Zero drops. I don't know about y'all, but okay, the volume is good in the end. Thank you so much. Thank you for the feedback, because sometimes the volume can be a little finicky depending on the controller I'm using. So I just had to double check, because sometimes, like, I'm doing microphone tests, my volume doesn't seem high, but then it sounds real loud over here. And sometimes I think it's fine, but then you get a lot of static or electromagnetic shit going on. Anywho, so you know, Dragon Ball Z meant you were having a great adolescent period. Times were tough, times were tricky, difficult, because goddamn, like, let's be real, being born in the 80s, raised in the 90s and early 2000s in New York City, pre 9/11, and then through post 9/11, whole different world than what a lot of younger folks deal with today. Like, my daughter has no clue, for example, what living in New York City was before 9/11. Anyone that was pretty much born, if you were under even 5 years old when 9/11 happened, you would have had no idea, because your memory's not going to really be there, and that's okay, because we all learn together. You know, Goku got us through it, man, and shout out to Akira Toriyama for that, because, man, he gave us gold. And not only that, like, if you really think about it, yeah, we had a lot of various anime here in the U.S., but nothing put anime front and center the way Dragon Ball Z did. I believe YouTuber Geekdom 101, he elaborated on this in a much simpler and quicker manner than I could. But that's because that's his style. He's very, very good at that. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel too. Not just mine, but his too. Yeah, like, when you were growing up with Dragon Ball Z, it was something special. And then I also remember the VHS tape of when I got to see Goku do the Spirit Bomb, and the global Spirit Bomb, thanks to Hercule, and destroy Kid Buu, and the whole end of Z time skip episodes and stuff. And who would have thought we would have had, and then there was GT, which I did not know about, and I had no idea that Toriyama kind of gave little guidelines, little tidbits, but he was not in charge of the writing at all whatsoever. There was no manga for the GT, to be adapted by either, to really have a footing on. And while GT, I did not enjoy it anywhere near as much as Z, there were some golden moments. Like when you found out that the real reason Goku couldn't transform any further, it wasn't that his tail was cut and never regrew. The tail was basically tucked inside his ass. I thought that was the most ridiculous shit on the face of the earth. Like, yeah, we gotta use a pincer and take it straight out of your ass. Well, not literally, but it's like this little weird part above your bunghole, and that's where. So it's like, what? Who wrote this? It's like they had no semblance of congruence when it came to understanding that one little thing. And then seeing him turn to Super Saiyan 4. And, laying the smackdown on Super Baby's candy ass. I thought that was amazing. I thought that was great. I freaking loved it. Didn't get to see most of the Super 17 saga or the other Shenron stuff. But then I remember back in high school, I was in 11th grade. I remember there was this kid. He actually lent me for a week the VHS tape that had the episodes where Goku and Vegeta were Super Saiyan 4. Oh, I'm just interacting with the chats right here. I'm just shooting the breeze, son. And I remember just sitting down watching Goku and Vegeta go Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And that was the most magical thing I remember watching growing up. Because it was like, yo, like. But the funny part was also seeing how Vegeta cheated his way into being Super Saiyan 4, which is bullshit. Literally, a little radioactive satellite the Bulma created. Oh yeah, we can make it go from Super Saiyan 2 straight to Super Saiyan 4. Skip the 3, skip the turning into a monkey process. We can go straight to 4. Like, I was like, whoever wrote this didn't say, you know what? Can we, like, you know what I mean? But that's okay. So, then seeing the fight. Seeing how they're beating the shit out of Omega Shenron, which is freaking great. Like, taking them coast to coast into freaking Roll Boulevard and the SmackDown Hotel. Like, it was just freaking great, you know? And then when the fusion ran out, and then when they tried again, and they, you know, it just wasn't happening. Then Goku ended up turning into Kid Goku again. Then seeing the Universal Spirit Bomb, which I thought was freaking legendary. And then seeing the whole aftermath, the end of GT. I was like, damn. And I had no idea that there was a movie actually made that took place after the events of the end of GT. I still got to sit down and download it and watch it or something. Because, you know. And now that I know that all of GT, all of Super, except for the movies, and Dragon Ball Z Kai are all on Hulu, I can actually sit down and go ahead and finally watch GT from start to finish and actually give it a fair, you know? Yep. This ain't PvP, no PvE. I'm just using Elden Ring as a backdrop just to reminisce on the passing of Akira Toriyama and how his work of Dragon Ball helped me through my teenage years. You know, my teenage years were kind of weird. Like, I was the big dude, but I wasn't violent. I wasn't a bully. I was always the one picked on, even though I was taller than at least half of the students in my class. And of course, you know, the over 9,000. Then, you know, with Goku training, doing gravity shit, you know, in the capsule core thing, you know, while on the way to Namek. A lot of that really did influence, you know, my determination on weightlifting back in junior high. Because at one point in junior high, they were like, hey, signing people up for weightlifting class. You know, I'm 13, going on 14, then 14 going on 15. I was like, fuck it, man. Sign up for weightlifting class, and then, you know, that imagery of Goku training and busting his ass to get stronger so he can go fight, you know, whatever was on Namek. Like, that was fuel for my weightlifting back in the day. And then even in high school, like, never mind the fact that I'm a big wrestling fan. But DBZ, man, it got me through high school also. Like, almost every semester, like into PE, I always pick weightlifting. Why? Because I just wanted to get stronger. Some people in today's world, they think of training and fitness, whatever. They're just trying to get the washboard abs, trying to get the thick butt. And nothing wrong with those things. If those are your ambitions, that's fine. But me, all I cared about back then, and all I care about even now when it comes to lifting, is just getting stronger. All I care about is being able to lift something or throw something. You know, pick things up and put things down. Plain and simple. And if there was anything that really inspired any teenager or even any young 20-something into wanting to be stronger and want to, you know, improve yourself, it was Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? And then even I remember in high school when someone actually lent me the Final Fantasy Anthology disc that actually had Chrono Trigger, which unfortunately I never had a Super Nintendo growing up, so I never got to experience it. But the cool thing was the disc version had anime cutscenes, animated by Akira Toriyama himself. And never mind the fact that the game already had his art style all over the place. You know, like the main character basically looked like a fusion of Trunks and Goku in a lot of ways. Magus almost felt like some sort of fusion of Vegeta and Piccolo. Frog, well, the Ginyu Frog. I mean, I don't know what else to compare it to as far as Toriyama's work in Dragon Ball. Then you had the caveman girl that she kind of reminded me of Launch. Then you had the girl with the gadgets and everything. She reminded me of Bulma. So, you know, those little things, you know. And that game in itself was also very, very wonderful. I never got to check out Blue Dragon, which was on Xbox 360. Again, work inspired, designed in terms of characters and everything, the story by Akira Toriyama himself. So like, homeboy Deadass got a freaking legacy that. And the thing was, it's not just his work spoke for a whole generation, right? And so when I found out that he died of a form of hematoma that sounds honestly like a blood clot in the brain somewhere. And then you think about it, like he was 68, so he's like 20 years, like 30 years older than me. And everything he accomplished and everything that he was still working on, right? So he was working on Dragon Ball Daima, and of course guiding Toyotaro when it came to writing the Dragon Ball Super manga, and even when it came to supervising and making sure Dragon Ball Super was pretty dope, and for all its flaws, Dragon Ball Super had a lot of legendary moments. As a matter of fact, like, Toriyama's work got to where even when I became a dad in 2013, here in Florida, me and my kid, I remember every Sunday was the Sunday to look forward to. It was Dragon Ball Super Sunday, because we knew a new episode already dropped, and I would go online somewhere and watch the new episode with my daughter. Like, literally, my kid's eating breakfast on one end while I got my laptop on the other side of the table, and we're watching the new episode of Dragon Ball Super. It's those little things, and then that intergenerational thing, and that's a treasure that you can really pass down. Because the one thing, don't get me wrong, I'm a Berserk fan. I really am. I've been a Berserk convert since the day Miura died, because that's when my curiosity about Berserk happened. But, Berserk isn't for kids. Let's be real about it. Dragon Ball, though, it has that age flexibility where kids can watch it, teenagers can watch it, adults can still appreciate it, and I got to enjoy, having that with my kid. Like, that's something neither of us will forget. I remember when my daughter used to do the whole Kamehameha thing at me just for no reason, and of course I'd sell and act like I'm actually getting blasted away to the other side of the room and stuff. And sometimes I would pretend like I'm doing the freaking burning attack from Trunks, and she'll giggle and laugh. Or sometimes I'll act like I'm doing like the multiple Frieza laser things that third form of Frieza used to do, just to tickle my daughter, and she'd be giggling and squealing like a pig laughing. Those are the things that come to mind when I think of Akira Toriyama, right? Now, why the hell am I on Elden Ring while talking about this instead of playing Fighter Z or Kakarot? I don't know. Other than this, I'm in Liurnia, the land of the mages, so to speak, right? And we all know that some players of this game are mage builds with Comet Azure. And I think we can all acknowledge the fact that Comet Azure is the equivalent of a Kamehameha of Elden Ring. So, any out there who's a mage build or an intelligence build, likes, spamming the Kamehameha on bosses to melt them, do so with all your heart and joy today. Today is the day. Do so. And if you got Hulu, go ahead, sit down and watch an episode or two of Dragon Ball a day while you're mourning through all this. Because trust me, no form of copium that Berserk fans had dealt with while awaiting a new Berserk chapter, or no copium that us people in the Elden Ring community had to endure until the DLC was announced, can amount to the pain and suffering that we're feeling right now. Because if you really want to talk about Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, if not for the fact that Super got started, you could say that Toriyama finished the story. Like, literally, Z, that last chapter, that was it. There was nothing else to be seen, nothing else to be watched, nothing else to be read. But then, here's another thing that's really, really cool about Toriyama that I really enjoyed. You know how back in the day, there's a lot of fanfics, right? A lot of people writing and drawing stuff, like their own fantastical stories of everything post Dragon Ball GT, right? There's a guy named Toyotaro. He drew this whole manga series called Dragon Ball AF. And I guess AF means after future, or whatever. And it's about the events long after GT. And somehow, he ended up in Toriyama's radar. I don't know what it was, what chapter it was, what panel, what artwork. Something happened where Toriyama took notice. And next thing you know, he's like, hey, you want to work for me? You want to make some magic? And Super is what we have now. Like, honestly, for me, if all of a sudden my favorite mangaka noticed my artwork, or a comic book writer noticed my artwork and said, hey, I see what you're doing. I see you like my shit. You want to do something. We're going to come under my wing. I don't know. I'd freaking lose my shit and jump for joy and make magic too. And I mean, if I were in Toyotaro's shoes, I'd probably feel a lot of pressure right now, a lot of pain, but there's a lot of joy because it's like that's that dream scenario that you don't always hear of. Yeah, dude. For sure, man. Like, and here's the other thing. Even with Goku, like now today, you know, go to a typical death battle community page on Facebook or wherever, and the endless thing is, can Goku beat Superman? And God knows how many times did Death Battle do it? What, 3 times? 3 times they gave us Goku versus Superman. All 3 times Superman whooped his ass. But only because. But this is the thing that we often forget about. Yeah, Goku's got great feats and strength. Like, compared to Dragon Ball to where he is right now in the Super manga, like, it's levels above. But if you really think about it, Goku was deemed a third-class Saiyan. Like, he was considered, like, basically like a runt. Like, an underdog, if you will. Meanwhile, you have Vegeta over here, an elite Saiyan prince, the prince of all Saiyans. And to think he was initially bested by someone that was like down here. And I think a lot of people can resonate to that whole underdog that ends up achieving great things. Even with someone like Goku. Like now Goku's like, all right, we already know he's the big good guy. You know he's gonna make shit happen. And he's gonna rock the world. But there was a time where it was like, can he really do it though? Because you know he was just a few steps away from being a bad luck Brian. But then when you see the growth, like I was rewatching the beginning of Z, and I was like, damn. We really look at that journey of growth that Toriyama made with that character. It's like, damn. And I think a lot of us that deal with being underestimated, lowly esteemed by peers, whether it be at work, at school, even in relationships for some weird reason, we can resonate with that. And the fact that Toriyama gave us a story that can truly inspire multiple generations. I will go with real life Ryan. He recently put a video up on YouTube. I recommend checking his channel out. He's usually a lot of Berserker Jerk and Chainsaw Man, but he did talk about Toriyama, and I do agree with him when you can say Akira Toriyama is someone who is legendary that you could put in the conversation with J.R.R. Tolkien, George Lucas, and Stan Lee. You know, in terms of creators that inspired generations upon generations. I still remember the whole story, and whether it's true or not, we don't know, but I have yet to see anyone debunk it. About how the very reason we got Bleach today, and Bleach the last God knows how many years, was because of Toriyama supposedly writing a letter to Tite Kubo, who felt discouraged about Bleach, and he was like, no, keep trying, don't give up, get on it. and if it's true that Toriyama really lit that fire in Tite Kubo's ass, um, that speaks a lot, because then that means that he didn't just inspire some elements of Naruto, but was an inspiration to Bleach in that regard. And for me, I find that to be something special. Um, it's a big deal. It is. And now you have Toyotaro, who's been the other guy writing Dragon Ball Super and drawing Dragon Ball Super. He's now got the task of finishing the story. I know I sound very Cody Rose-ish, but goes without saying. Like, up to this point, if you've read the Dragon Ball Super manga, obviously they did the whole Battle of Gods, the whole thing with Frieza, the Goku Black arc, the Survival Tournament arc, with all the multiverses, fighting each other in that Battle Royal. We had the Moro arc. We had the Granola arc. We find out Goku has a half Saiyan brother. And that basically true. And not only that Bardock is not only alive, but he kind of pulled the Joseph Joestar and couldn't be faithful. And then all of a sudden, the whole Black Frieza thing. We were, of course, got Broly, which was, in my opinion, the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie is probably one of the most well done. It is the best animated. Well, I would say top three best animated Dragon Ball movies of all time. And then from an animated film and anime in general, probably one of the best in the last 20-25 years. Like, the amount of different artistic techniques executed excellently in Dragon Ball Super Broly, we're going to be talking about it for years on end. Don't get me wrong, I still think Akira is probably up at the top. Hear me out. Akira is an anime film that used effects that I have yet to see implemented with perfection in anime today. And that's considering anime has gone leaps and bounds above. I mean, just watch Demon Slayer, and the way at some points there are times where you have photorealistic imagery blended with actual Japanese anime put together. The way Mappa Studios has been gradually improving their CGI and 2D animation transitions, I mean, that speaks volumes. And the team that Toriyama put together for Super Broly, that was freaking amazing. So you had those stories. Yeah, also Dragon Ball Superhero, where you got to see Gohan finally step it up again, along with Piccolo. You got to finally see Trunks and Goten start growing up, and it's like time is moving forward and getting closer to the end of Z portion of Dragon Ball Z, towards where the story can be concluded. And then, Black Frieza. And then now, in the recent manga chapter, the beginning of Goku versus Gohan, and how they are throwing hands in a sparring fight, but the shit get real. Like, Goku's in perfected Ultra Instinct versus Beast Gohan, and they're going like this, and that's the fight everyone's been waiting for. And then now it's between that and how will Toyotaru finish the story. Like, my question is, did Akira Toriyama discuss with Toyotaro a guideline towards how to come full circle to ending Dragon Ball Super as a story, so that way it fits with the rest of Dragon Ball Z's story? Because remember, everything going on in Super is taking place right after Kid Buu died and right before the time skip of the end of Z. So that's a whole pocket of time and events that are going on. Do I feel like sometimes the manga and the stories kind of dragged itself a bit? Maybe. However, I think now Toyotaro might have a whole lot of barbecue up his ass, or he might will it himself to tighten up the story towards where this next arc that they're writing, maybe it's the last one, and hopefully it'll be a nice, putting a bow on it and finally bring a conclusion. But then now we got the question of Dragon Ball Daima, There's supposed to be a new story written by Toriyama, which takes place again after Boo's death, but before End of Z, where everyone got turned into a little kid by someone's stupid Dragon Ball wishes. And now it's like, I hope they only had one season, but the thing was, Toriyama had a lot of ambition. And yeah, at 68, he still had fuel in the tank when it came to stories to tell. And there aren't that many authors out there, not many artists out there where they're in their late 60s and have a compelling story to tell, or stories they want to tell and put together with others. That being said, my tank is officially empty when it comes to saying what I have to say about Akira Toriyama. Once again, thank you, Akira Toriyama, for the legacy he left behind. It's a beautiful legacy. It's a legacy that will be intergenerational, and we will probably be talking about it for the next 100 years. Even long after I've bitten the dust, there will be people talking about Akira Toriyama. Just like how now in 2024, there's still people talking about Astro Boy, one of the first, big animes that ever happened during like that post World War II era and all that, and that's saying a lot. And everyone that's tuned in here for this segment of the stream, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just love having conversations. I love storytelling sometimes. Sometimes it isn't just me chatting with my bestie on while we're destroying stuff in a video game. Sometimes I sit here and I just shoot the shit because that's how I